obviously the big talk was that 7-1 split off the bench and the power that brings in the second half of a match, and the ability to overpower a team even as capable of the All Blacks. Matt Williams described it as abusing the bench. I know, Keith, you had a piece all of 20 years ago which was saying that you were against replacements entirely. Now I'm sure that's probably evolved a little bit given the qualms about player welfare and all that kind of thing, but it's not a great look, as you say, for them to sheer. It's almost a sense of bullying in that second half from what they're trying to do with the bench.
I think there's an element of fairness in that as a comment. I did an article 20 years ago with The Guardian. Well, it was an interview with The Guardian, and they were asking the things that you'd like to change in the sport. And I said, well, I don't like the idea of getting on top of your opposition and having played 60 minutes and then they change the whole front row against you and they're all 3 18 stone or 19 stone guys against you and you have to play against them for the last 20. I mean, you can change, but I grew up in the time where you didn't go off. You know, it wasn't, you only went off for injury. I sat on the bench for Ireland and didn't get on for 10 or 12 caps because there was no injury that went on. There was no replacements. That's what I grew up in. It's what I was used to. So 20 years ago, I'd have said, yeah, I don't want to have any of those on at all. Now, if you ask me, I would say I would like it to be an awful lot less. I'd like there to be 3 front row for health and safety reasons. I think you need to do that. I'd like to have a utility forward and a utility back. And I think if with 5, it would cover it. You've a squad of 20. I don't know that any of those things will happen because none of the coaches will want that to happen, but it tends to bring the game closer to a level of equity where it isn't down to the full extent of your squads to how many players that you actually have there or not there. You know, we know for the smaller countries, it's much harder to get 8 impact subs, and you'll often hear a commentary about the fact, well, that bench are much better than the bench that's coming on. They have a good 15, but their 8 aren't as good as the other ones. So look, I'm just not a fan of it, and I think in terms of health and safety, I'd love to see how they would compare in terms of whether you'd be better off with players that are smaller and fitter and able to last for 80 minutes. And my only anecdotal element, I would say, in it is I played mostly 16 and a half, 17 stone was my weight. I played one season in 98 at 18 stone and I didn't finish a game because I couldn't get 18 stone around the field for 80 minutes. You know, I was knackered by the end of it. And I dropped that weight again, and then I started finishing games again, you know, and you want to be on at the end of the game. You know, you want to still have that fitness and that impact to be able to do it. But I love the fact that if you were able to keep going until 80, you tend to have worn out the other guys. You might get on top in the last 15 or 20 minutes.